I'd like to call the joint meeting of the Internal Services and Public Services Committee to order, and please rise for Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved by Nard.
Thank you. Commissioners Norton and Grote made the motion and supported it. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Marla votes yes.
I don't have a vote. I'll say yes.
Oh, sarcasm doesn't become you. Okay.
Lucido votes yes.
Thank you.
Hi, Jacob.
We're in a meeting, you know.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you.
Starting.
Next, I'd like a motion to approve two agendas, the joint Internal Services and Government Oversight Committee meetings.
Who
Minutes.
approves the agenda?
Support Center. Oh, whoever.
We're talking about minutes, not agendas,
That's
sir.
what I said, minutes.
Okay,
You didn't hear me.
you're right. And the joint Public Services and Records and Public Safety from February 7th. I didn't hear who made the second.
I think Mai did. Support.
Thank you. Commissioners Romano and Zong made the motion and seconded it. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item 5 is public participation for a maximum of 3 minutes. It's the first opportunity for anyone in the public to speak on any item that's on today's agenda. Later in the meeting, there'll be a second opportunity for public participation for any item that the speaker chooses to speak on. Anyone for agenda items? Public participation for agenda items. Hearing none, we'll close item 5, public participation, and move on into Internal Services Department recommendations. I'd like a motion to, well, I'll read the items first. Budget amendment, facilities and operations, Macomb County Board of Commissioner Office renovations, $243,930. And I'd like a motion for items 6A and B.
So moved by Nard.
Support Perna.
Thank you. Commissioners Narden and Perna made the motion and seconded it to move to full board. Ben?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is the first item I could maybe do show and tell for, because we're speaking about the office here. 6A and 6B are related to a board office modification project. The intent of this project is expand the public seating area in the boardroom by removing the adjacent conference space and reworking the boardroom ceilings and walls. This project requires HVAC modifications, removal and replacement of existing ceiling, floors, and walls finishes, revisions to electrical systems, and some slight revisions to the fire sprinkler and alarm system. The contractor selected intends on starting once all equipment and material have arrived onto their property, as to reduce the downtime for the board office as much as possible. Construction's anticipated to take around 4 to 6 weeks. This item was publicly bid through Macomb County Purchasing. 4 bids were received, and the lowest qualified bidder was Meridian Contracting Group, in the amount of $243,930. Admittedly, in full transparency, I left this off of this year's capital plan. It was a total mistake. But with that being said, with help from Steve Schmagel, I'm requesting to use a reallocation of unspent $2,023, which he helped me find. So that's what I am asking for today.
Thank you, Commissioner Zong.
Thank you, Chair. Not sure if this question is for you, maybe for Crystal or
Sure.
Board Chair. I'm in favor of expanding this space because I think when we get a lot of people in, it does get very cramped. And so I'm glad to hear that we'll be expanding the space in anticipation of audience participation. But I know there are groups that utilize the conference room. And so what is the plan for these groups that will still need to meet? Where are they going to be meeting? And then my second question is, I know a while back we were talking about upgrading our equipment so that we could accommodate people participating virtually, and I haven't heard anything. I think that just sort of fell to the wayside. So, although I'm in favor of expanding the space, I just don't know if we're going to need it as much, because if there's any indication in the past, we haven't had many meetings that have been completely filled.
Sure. For once, I'll defer to the board
Yeah.
chair for this
Well,
one.
thank you. There'll still be meeting space in the other conference room, so we've got the larger conference room, which is used regularly, not full-time, but regularly, so we believe that we can accommodate the additional meetings in the main big conference room there. And the tables can be shrunk, the sizes up and down, depending on the size of the group, so that's happening. And regarding the other thing, there's, as you know, we've had some glitches with the system. We're still working through the glitches in the system, but we're definitely going to need the space. And the other issue is we're still trying to work out a couple of bugs. So, all right.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Song. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Sabatini?
Thank you, Chair. Ben, just a quick question. I know when we did the build out here, it was our own employees that did the full build out. Just curious why we're not having our employees do the build out.
There's a couple reasons on this one. Duration is one. With the amount of carpenters we have, and they're allocated to other projects right now, they're pretty big, so duration would be bad. And also I know it doesn't appear complicated, but there is an elevation difference in the ceilings between this room and that room. So the entire ceiling on this section has to be reworked, and it just gets fairly complicated for our staff to be tied up doing, unfortunately.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yep.
Will we be able to continue to meet in this room? Will they have like plastic hung across or something?
So, the intent of the contractor is to hang plastic, right in front of those bulkheads here. So this side will be okay. The issue will be for public meetings, this side will be all torn up because of the flooring, yeah. So they're trying to minimize that downtime, but there will be some downtime, unfortunately.
Okay, and 4 to 6 weeks, can we schedule that so it straddles only one meeting instead of two?
Yeah, certainly, once we award the contract, I am definitely open to discussing time periods. There will be a time period where there is a few things that are long lead, but nothing crazy, so we can meet with the contractor, see when things are supposed to arrive, and kind of try to shuffle things around to meet whatever works for the board. Yep,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Seeing no other, Chair Brown?
Just to your question, when it comes to scheduling, we have to order materials, and materials, supply chains being what they are, we don't know what we're gonna run into, so we'll see when they come in, and once we get that, Crystal will work with us, and we'll work with the scheduler, try, like you said, to answer your question, of schedule in the most convenient time. You know, the longest period of time we got, so, over the first of the year, right, but there are other periods of time we can work it, so we're gonna make sure that we have the minimal impact, of course.
Okay, so this is all inside jobs, so there's no problem with weather or anything else?
No, shouldn't be,
No, my only.
unless they open a hole in the roof.
My only, if I may offer an opinion, is to get it in before schoolwork starts. When schoolwork starts, the contractors are often tied up with large bond projects and stuff like that, so it can be hard to get labor. So my perfect scenario for speediness of getting in and out of here would be to start it before schoolwork.
Summer seems to be a little lighter anyway, so
Yeah.
that'd be good. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Chair Brown, if you want a voice vote, I can add it in. I don't think yours came out.
Yes, I made the mistake of using the system before voting.
That's okay. Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 6C, agreements for information technology maintenance agreement for the first quarter of 2024 for $2,665,751.59 for a whole litany of our vendors that we use. I'd like a motion to move to full board.
So move, Hall.
Support Lucido.
Thank you. Commissioners Hahn and Lucido made the motion and seconded it to move this item to full board. Jacob?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is, again, one of the maintenance items, or a bunch of the maintenance items I'm bringing before you. There's two big ones in here. The one is our Microsoft renewal, as well as a true-up, and then the other one, Workday. So it totals $2,665,000 for these different items.
Sorry, I'm a little behind here. Commissioner Kraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Jaco.
Hi, Commissioner.
Question about Workday. Is that an annual subscription fee? What, is that all that?
That's our annual maintenance subscription and so forth, yes.
So is that just a 1 year? So next year it could be higher, it could stay the same? Are we locked in anywhere?
We're not locked in, but that's more or less what it's gonna be. Part of that too is as our employee count increase or decrease, they adjust it accordingly, so.
Thank you, Jaco. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The documentation says quarterly, so we pay Workday 1.1 million plus every quarter.
No, this is a one-time payment, annual payment for
Okay.
Workday.
Are all the other ones annual payments?
Yeah, we do our payments on an annual basis unless it's a situation where we using a product that we might want to terminate at some point in time, or there's
Okay.
other reasons for that, but we pay our maintenance annually.
So I just misread the title because it says maintenance agreements for the first quarter. I
No,
took that to
sorry.
mean paying for the first quarter as opposed to ones that are coming due in the first quarter.
It's ones that's really coming due in the first
In the
quarter.
first quarter. So when are they going to get Workday straightened out? We've paid all kinds of extra, we had all kinds of extra monies for consultants ahead of time and everything. In my
Well-
opinion, this has been a disaster.
I would disagree with you, Commissioner. The Workday implementation, if you look at, implementations around us, let's just call it that, I think we've done a pretty good job of implementing Workday, especially from a cost standpoint. The difficulty become, once you have this new system, and it's a huge system and a lot of different things we're doing. And really, all that is today is catching up, moving from the old system to the new system. There's quite a few things that's still not configured 100%, and it causes, difficulties for everyone, and we completely understand that. But we are working towards that as diligently as we can.
Understand, my comments were not aimed at any of the county side of the implementation. I'm disappointed in Workday's side of the implementation because we're not the first people they've implemented.
Yeah.
And they looked at all of our data ahead of time, correct, to
Yep.
see what it was all about. And so, should have been
Oh.
prepared.
I agree with you, and I can also tell you that we are holding their feet to the fire. We've just signed off on about $280,000 return on certain things that were not completed during the integration. So, we're making sure that they do what they have to do, and so far, I mean, I understand that sometimes people are frustrated, but I think all in all, we're making very good progress.
Was the 280,000 returned because of lack of performance or lack of meeting schedules or something else?
Lack of not executing everything by the contract that we signed with the integrator.
Okay, good. Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, Jaco.
Hi, Commissioner.
Just a quick question in regards to like the 2023 cost versus the 2024 cost that you have here in your spreadsheet. Obviously, I think I've already answered one of my questions in regards to Workday. It looks like that increase of $384,000 is per the agreement. Was that just a timing, I assume?
Yeah,
Relative to when we signed and a full year? Second question is Microsoft. So that increased $267,000 year over year. What's the primary reason why we're
Well,
being hit with such a
the
huge
primary
increase?
reason for increases is increase in licensing. Also with Workday, the implementation of Workday, we have to have an account for every user now, which was not the case before, even if somebody doesn't log into the network, because we use Active Directory authentication for Workday. It's a very secure environment and something we had to do. So there's those things. And then the other thing is we're also busy with the Microsoft conversion. During that time, we are going to pay an elevated cost for about a year to 18 months. We're changing the licensing, and it's not more expensive licensing. It's more so a different type of licensing because we get quite a few features. Things like Intune, for example, that we use a different product for today. We can eventually switch that product out and use Intune, which is part of our suite. But we had to make some changes, and that's going to go on for probably the next year or 18 months, and then it should come down again.
And then we'll have a cost savings with the removal of Google's platform. So
That's
we'll have
about
that savings.
$300,000, yeah.
Okay. In regards to the Microsoft platform, obviously, now that every single employee is going to be on this platform, they have a number of different apps that are part of their platform. I'm going to use Teams as an example. Is that an application that some of our departments can start using and get rid of other applications that they may be paying for in addition to what we already are paying for now through this platform?
Yes, we eventually plan to be a full Microsoft shop, and with that, I mean, you just brought up Teams. Teams is like a one-stop shop kind of, if you in a Microsoft environment, where eventually all your Microsoft documents, Excel, Word, whatever you create, you can access through Teams, and you can have all your files and folders there. What makes it easier is when you go home or when you're at work, it'll be seamless. So you can work on documents, and the documents reside in the cloud. So you can work on the document whether you're home or whether you're here, and you can access it. You don't have to be on the county network. In other words, dial in with VPN before you can do that. So there's lots of those type of things, but we're doing that project in two phases. The first part of it is email, and then the second part will be the documents.
Great. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Jacob, you said that part of going to Workday, you put everybody into Active Directory. Will everybody in Active Directory lessen or ease the cost of going to Outlook?
Everybody that's in Active Directory, yes. When it comes to Outlook, everybody has an email, because there are people in our organization that doesn't have email. And traditionally, those people were not in Active Directory. But now for Workday, they have to be, because they have to get paid and so forth. So, eventually, the cost of having that person in Active Directory, we don't have to buy Outlook or anything like that for them, the whole suite. It is just what we call a CAL, or Client Access License, that they need, and two other products for them to be able to use Active Directory.
It's a little off topic, but what's the schedule to move from Gmail to Outlook?
We are starting, I think, the 22nd, 23rd, we're doing IT, our own department. And then there's going to be about 2 to 3 weeks of pause, so we can fix any errors or concerns we have, and then we start with all group, and we're planning on getting it done by mid-June.
Okay.
The whole town.
Good, thank you. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Zinner, yes.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item 6D, Purchase Information Technology, 2024 capital outlay items for $1,114,300. I need a motion to recommend to full board.
So move.
Support Nard.
Thank you. Commissioners Hall and Nard made the motion and supported it to move this item to full board.
Commissioners, this is capital outlay, as Commissioner Van Sickle stated, 1.114 million this year. And this budget I bring to you every year really to cover our operational cost. These items are mostly for replacements as well as break fix repairs, as well as some other items that we need for operations. We have items like PC replacement, printer, scanner, Cisco phones, and that's your desk phone. Miscellaneous user hardware and software, fiber maintenance, and so forth. This, like I said, is our, we've worked this out with the board, I think 2018, and there were 3 commissioners that we met with. And that was specifically so that we can execute on these items and not having to come back to the board every time this happens, because many times it is critical repairs, things that need to happen quickly. And that's why we're bringing it to you in this format.
Thank you. Commissioner Kraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jaco, thank you for continuing to do this. I hope this helps you save some time
It
and
helps us a lot.
headache every year. Couple questions for some of the items. And I appreciate that you add in 2023 what we've spent as to compared to what was budgeted for. Some of them are significantly lower in what we've spent compared to what you asked for, in terms of the key scan repairs. And then I believe miscellaneous software was incredibly low, and then cybersecurity. Can you explain why the difference is and what we, allotted for as opposed to what you paid for?
Yeah. Absolutely. The difficulty come in when we estimate these amounts in the beginning of the year. We don't know what's going to break, how much of it is going to break, and what we try to do is, obviously reach that. If it's $40,000 budget, try to spend around that amount of money. It's not always possible. The reason, for instance, key scan is in there. Our key scan panels and readers are old, really old. And we have some that break, at times it's, you have 1 or 2 that break in a year. But when a few panels break, we will get pretty close or even over the budget that we allocate. So it's kind of we try. Like this year, if you look at my budgets, there's quite a few of them that I've decreased just because of historical values, but I also don't want to take the chance, for example, on key scan to do something like that at this point in time, because we do expect some break fixes there.
Okay. Thank you, Jaco. Thanks again for doing this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown?
Thank you. Jaco, the vendor disclosure forms on all of them, or most all of them, the information just looks like it's been moved forward. It's probably not your office, you're not doing that, putting the forms together, but the vendor disclosure forms are not up to date. This one here, as an example, CDWG, the vendor signed a disclosure statement dated 9/4 of 2020. I'm sure nothing's changed in 4 years, but maybe something has that, needs to be done. So,
Well, we can discuss that definitely, Commissioner,
Well, I've
with
discussed it.
finance.
I brought it forward to the people previously, but just know that this is a concern and that, take it back to your team, that know that the board's noticed these and would like those vendor disclosure forms
Yeah.
current. And so if you could just do that,
Okay.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you. I don't expect you to respond. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Zinner, yes.
Lucido, yes.
Motion passes 12-0.
That finishes the Internal Services section of the meeting. We now moved on to Public Services Committee with Commissioner Perna.
Thank you, Commissioner. 8A, Public Amendment, Planning and Economic Development, Michigan Strategic Fund 1400, Implement Grant of $217,927. Vicki, can you bring us up to date? Motion to recommend the full board
By
first.
law.
Did we do A and B?
Can we do A and B, Chair?
Yes.
So moved.
No, just A.
A only. B's roads.
Yeah, we'll leave that with Brian.
Vicki.
Very good. So this is a budget amendment to increase our Industry 4.0 grant. This money is coming through the Michigan Strategic Fund. I've come to this board several times in 2023 with budget amendments. This is another one. To date, we've been able to help out 27 businesses through this implementation grant. It does provide a $25,000 reimbursement for equipment or software to get these businesses I-4.0 ready.
Questions?
Chair,
Commissioner?
is this the same grant that you have spoken of before then?
That is correct.
That had to do with your workers?
This one has to do with equipment reimbursement. So when a business, for example, is purchasing a 3D printer, up to $25,000 does get reimbursed through this grant.
Thank you.
Commissioner Van
Thank you, Chair.
Sickle?
Thank you. Vicki, I've attended several of the Industrial 4.0 presentations. You do a great job with those. They're well received. Does this grant also help cover expenses of those?
Not for the workshops. The workshops are covered through another grant through MEDC, where we're able to provide the venue, food, any of those costs.
Okay, good. They're worthwhile even if we had to pay for them ourselves, but I'm glad they're covered by the grant. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. No other speakers? Please vote.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Motion passes 11-1. Commissioner Zinner voting no.
Next item, item 8, I'd like to consolidate B, C, D, E, and F.
So moved.
Brian?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Item B would be a MDOT contract for a shared use path, construction on 25 Mile Road along to Broughton. That is in Macomb Township. That is a overall construction cost of $458,400. This is part of our non-motorized path program, and the balance off of the TAP funded portion, which would be split between us and Macomb Township, is $217,530. So seeking approval of that MDOT contract.
We're going to approve them all.
Item C. This is mutual termination of a traffic control device cost sharing agreement and participation agreement with Macomb Township. The signal at 24 Mile Road in North Avenue was originally requested, installed, and implemented on behalf and request of Macomb Township years ago. That's was their request in anticipation of the 23-mile road corridor being constructed, and obviously additional turning movements at 24 and North Avenue as a result. Years forward, obviously, we have a 24-mile road that is paved completely from basically Fairchild to the west. It was an outreach by Macomb Township supervisor to reevaluate that signal on behalf of their part as it pertains to the Department of Roads and Macomb County. And it was felt that at this point, the signal should be transferred over to the Department of Roads. It services more of a roads need versus kind of a bypass or detour for the 23-mile road construction projects that obviously are complete, and 5 lanes all the way across now. So we were in agreement with Macomb Township, so this is basically terminating that traffic control order. So we will take over the operations and maintenance costs moving forward in the future. It was about $2,000 per year. Item D, this is a cost share agreement with Legacy Village Land Holdings, LLC, for a traffic signal device at Van Dyke Avenue south of 25 Mile Road. This is in regards to development of property on the southwest quadrant of 25 Mile Road in Van Dyke. It is for a future installation once that development reaches approximately 75% constructed. This agreement is, I guess, done in regards to the property itself to ensure that once the properties are developed and homes are in there, that we have a signal that's installed, and this would not be at the cost of the Department of Roads, but it was established through a traffic control analysis that with this new development, there would be a need for a traffic sometime in the future. So this is basically ensuring that once that threshold is met, that there will be a signal that will be installed. We would construct the signal and would be paid for that subsequent work. So that's a cost share agreement ensuring that moving forward. Item E is a cost share agreement with Macomb Township for the Garfield Road reconstruction from M59 to 21 Mile Road. This is a local agency project, so this cost will be split 50-50 with us and the township. Overall cost is $6.5 million. So obviously our cost will be $3,250,000. Item F is a revised cost share agreement with the City of Centerline for the 10 Mile Road reconstruction from Sherwood Avenue to Lorraine Avenue. There were adjustments to the cost estimate, brought it up to current dollar values. This is a 2025 project. It is a project that is 80% federally funded. The City of Centerline is going to be issuing us a deposit of $400,000 to account for the PE, the preliminary engineering that's going to take place on this in advance of the 2025 construction. This more than likely will fall into the 2026 construction season with minor punch list items, restoration work to complete. And we are working with, obviously, the City of Centerline as far as the remaining balance outside of the initial deposit for the rest of the work moving forward. So seeking approval on that revised cost share agreement.
Commissioner Van Sickle?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Brian.
Good afternoon.
On this last one, the $400,000 that Centerline is coming up with, is that part of the 12-3 for the whole project?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and then on item C with the Legacy Village Land Holdings, the $400,000, and it says no cost to the county, so I assume they're giving you the $400,000 for the installation.
Once the signal is determined to be needed, yes, they would pay at that point. So at this point, there's nothing started as far as that signal is concerned. This is just an obligation once the threshold is met to install the signal. That would be the total cost of installation that would be supplied to us.
And who makes that determination that a signal's needed?
I believe the agreement is once 75% of the homes are developed in that particular property, that would be the trigger for the installation of the signal. So
we're not doing a road study or anything?
there was a traffic impact study done by the property owner looking at developing the land that did warrant a signal once there were so many homes that were established in that development. So we're basing it off that. So this is basically an assurance that that signal will go in when that threshold is met.
And the 4,000 annual maintenance,
That is on the property or the development.
so are they gonna have a homeowners association or something that's gonna come up with this in an ongoing basis? Because 20 years from now, the builder's gonna be gone.
That's why it's tied to the property. So it's not tied to any individual developer. It's tied to the property. So whether the developer is still involved or it's turned over to the HOA, that will be part of their legacy costs moving forward.
Is there plan for an HOA?
At this point, I'm not sure myself, but that's why it's tied to the property itself. So if the developer develops and then leaves, there has to be a mechanism between the developer and the property that's sold and developed that somebody would be paying. So that would have to be transferred over to the HOA if they establish an HOA.
Is Shelby Township okay with this?
Yes, they are. They were in full support.
Okay.
They pretty much, this is basically ensuring Shelby Township gets that signal also that's deserved to be in place once that development gets that threshold met.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Zinner?
Thank you, Chair. I may have missed part of this because I was working with my screen. Do you have an expectation of when they're going to start building?
I don't have an exact time frame of when they're looking at building. That I don't have.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir. Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Chair.
Commissioner Romano?
I'll pass. Oh, did you say Brown?
No, Romano.
Romano, what?
I don't know if I speak for him, but what I do with something intelligent.
How you doing, Commissioner?
Let's talk about $400,000. When are they coming up with that, Bry?
When the determination is met as far as the threshold for the development itself.
And the development would be proceed a year from that date? This is more of a deposit to make sure the development's being done?
There's
I'm
no,
trying to
there's no deposit involved at this point. It's just an assurance. We have an assurance that once we sign this, that whoever the property owner is, or if they turn it over to the HOA, that they are going to be paying for a signal sometime in the future when the threshold is required to put a signal in that location.
So that $400,000 goes where?
No, there is not going to be any monies transferred at this point. This is just an assurance that the cost of this will be paid by Legacy Land Holdings, who currently owns the property and is going to develop the property. The signal is not required at this point because they don't have the property developed and there's not about 75% of the homes built in that development. So at this point, it doesn't meet a threshold to need a signal installed.
Did you bring up the 400,000? I don't see it. Did you state 400,000 or am I?
The total anticipated cost is 400,000.
Okay, but there's no money being transferred from anybody to anybody.
No, this is
Okay.
just a cost share
You
agreement,
can't get any.
ensuring
any
that the
interest on it.
signal
Okay,
gets
that answered
installed.
my question. Thank you, Mr. Santo.
You're welcome, Commissioner.
Commissioner Nard?
Brian, in regards to the Centerline construction project, is there like that 400,000, are they on like a payment plan or something with that, or they gotta come up with that entire amount?
They're coming up with that initial amount for the PE portion of the project. Obviously, it takes us a duration to get the project design. So those monies will be used to further that design engineering of that project. And then we will actually start the actual construction next year in 2025 and
Okay.
probably overlap into 2026. And we are working with the city to establish what they can pay after that as far as the balance is due. Which
Okay,
is the construction, the balance outside of the 400 initial deposit.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
No other speakers? Please vote.
Thanks, Adriana.
Commissioners Hart and Romano, if you'd like to voice vote, I can add it in.
Yes.
So glad we got this new
Yes.
system.
Motion passes 12-0.
You want to talk for Joe?
Thank you. Item G, full board approval requested at a committee. This is a contract with MDOT, 28 Mile Road over Camp Brook Drain, Wolcott Road over northbound on Clinton River North Avenue, over EB Coon Creek totaling $524,000, cost of $104,000. Brian?
Yes, and this is a unique project as far as asking for full board approval today. This is once again an MDOT contract. It's for heavy bridge rehabilitation on the 3 locations as named. And the reason we're asking for approval, so there's a timeline once the project is let. So MDOT does the letting of the projects for us that we oversee. From the letting date to the award date, there's 35 days that are allocated for that award of that project. So obviously this project was let, 35 days hits tomorrow. But we just received the MDOT contract in hand just recently. So there are things that transpire outside of our control between the contractor and MDOT before we get the actual contract in hand. And obviously the 35 days is up tomorrow. So we want to ensure the contractor actually beyond 35 days has the right to refuse or rescind their bid, which I don't think is going to happen on this, but we just want to ensure that we got this in prior to the 35 days so that MDOT could award the project to the contractor. So seeking approval on this MDOT contract.
Any questions? Please vote.
Need a motion. I will do the motion to grant full board approval for the.
Support.
Now vote.
Chair Brown, if you want a voice vote, I can add it in.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Item 9, public service correspondence, a motion to receive and file A and B.
So moved.
Support?
Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Item 10, public participation. Anyone from the audience wish to speak in any item? Anyone from the public? One more time. If not, we'll close public participation. Commissioners' comments. Any commissioner have any words to say today? Mr. Romano.
Just want to mention the fact that Commissioner Van Sickle and myself Friday attended the Sterling Heights Cultural Food Festival, and this was an opportunity for individuals other than even Sterling Heights and other municipalities to attend Sterling Heights Cultural Festival, which consists of different vendors bringing in different types of cultural food. We've had everything from, geez, I don't know, I want to say pizza to hummus to
Baklava.
You name it, we had it. And if I have to guess, I had to guess that probably maybe 300, 400, 500 people showed up. So it was really well attended. It gets bigger every year. And that was Friday night when it rained so heavily. But the mention of free food and a lot of people show up. So,
Don't forget the ethnic performances.
that's
the
right. They had
dance and
performances
singing.
from it was really interesting for different ethnic groups. And besides eating, Mr. Van Sickle also served.
Wow.
That's all I have.
Anyone else?
I do.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Commissioner. Just really quick, today we did have our drain board meetings, and Commissioner Miller did say that if there was any commissioners that were ever interested in touring any of the different projects she has going on, to make sure that you reach out to her, because she'd be more than happy to take you out. I do recommend that if you haven't had the opportunity to go over and check out Chapatin Pump Station, we as a board invested a lot of our money, our ARPA funds into that project, and they're doing some really incredible work, and it's moving along really fast. So it is really something to see. So if you guys have an opportunity, I would do that. That's all I have.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to mention on Sunday, about 40 members of my family piled into a bus and we attended a cultural event down in Detroit called St. Patrick's Day Parade. It was cold, but it was mighty and we had a great time.
Yeah, it was nice.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brown.
On Friday, the county, the Macomb Purchase and Development Right Program, which is supported by our county planning staff and has been for the last 20 years, put another piece of property, of prime farmland in Richmond Township into preservation. That they buy the development rights from that piece of property, and that property is to remain in agriculture for forever, pretty much. And so now that brings the total of almost 500 acres of farmland we have in Macomb County that's enrolled in this Purchase and Development Right Program, preserving agriculture. Most of it's in Richmond Township too. And so it's a voluntary free market approach to preserve farmland, because if the landowner gets tax benefits, estate tax benefits from that, and it's quite a good program, and something that this board established under the old Board of Commissioners in 2002, I think. And it's been ongoing, and there's just that our county planning staff is supporting not only businesses that Commissioner Van Sickle and other people have attended meetings for, but we also support the ag community in a big way. And so it was just something worth noting, and I presented something on behalf of the board acknowledging that to them. So they're very appreciative of the county's support of agriculture. Thank you.
Commissioner Nerd?
I just wanted to just kind of ask people to keep Flint, Michigan in mind. They lost one of their really outspoken and dedicated councilman, Eric Mays. He was real outspoken and, dedicated to working with the people and making sure that their voices were heard. And he will surely be missed in that city. He went to school with one of my sisters. And so I just wanted people to remember him today and remember that city, because I don't know what they're going to do without him. Hopefully, someone else will come along and work, especially with that water situation. He was very outspoken about that and trying to get that situation handled. So just remember that the citizens of Flint, Michigan today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? This is the famous time. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Please vote.